everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Sophie and I would love it if you click that big red subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell as well so that you never miss a video. Now, you've probably guessed already from the title, but today I'm going to be talking about German language films which you can watch in order to practice your German. I believe that it's so important to listen to content in your target language when learning a language, not only just to improve your listening skills, but to really see how the language is used and to learn new vocabulary. And just, I think immersion is just so important when learning a language, so I thought it could be useful to share some German films with you all. I did make a video years ago now talking about German TV series, which probably needs updated because obviously a lot of new German language TV series have been released since then. But yeah, today I'm going to be speaking about films instead because I've never done that before. I'm going to try and talk about what level I think they'll be like best suited to, because I know when you first start learning a language, you don't really know what to watch, and you could watch something and it might be like way too advanced for you. So I will try and mention what level I think they're best suited to, but I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who did a undergraduate degree in German, Spanish and French. And yeah, obviously I'm also only going to talk about films that I've actually watched. I have not watched every single German language film that is out there, so there may be some great films that are missing from my list, and if you can think of any, do share them in the comment section because it might help somebody out. It could help me out as well, who knows. So firstly, I thought I'll start off with a classic for me because I studied it when I was studying A-level German, and I know many other A-level German students in the UK definitely would have watched this film and studied it and written about it in their exams, but I do think it's a classic and I think it's a good film. And because the fact that I was watching it at A-level when I probably was like A2/B1 level, I don't know, I feel like A-level is more B1, but then in the first year of university we did B1 plus, so maybe yeah, it's kind of touching A2 B1, so maybe you could watch this when you're level A2 or B1 because clearly we were writing essays about it when we were that level. But yeah, that is Das Leben der Anderen, so the life of others. It's basically about this spy in East Germany back in the time of the DDR, so the German Democratic Republic, and I think we call it the GDR, but no, the GDR, but I'm so used to saying DDR because I'm usually talking about this topic in German classes. I won't be any longer now that I finished my degree, but yes. Anyway, rambling on, I've gone off on a complete tandem, but yeah, it's a spy and he is spying on this playwright who is in a relationship with an actress, and yeah, he's basically spying on them because, you know, they would do that if they didn't like what you were writing about or they thought you were planning or something. They would spy on them, and I'm not going to tell you anything else because I feel like I would just spoil the story. So the next film is one of my favourites, and I think that's mainly because of where it is set, and I will explain that further in a minute, but it's called Izzy and Ozzy. It's available on Netflix and it is a rom-com, and I do think because it is a rom-com and more of a teen rom-com as well, that it isn't, you know, too difficult to understand because, you know, rom-coms are very predictable, so I do feel like it's one that you can watch when you're kind of at the start of your German learning journey. Of course, where it is a teen film, though, there might be some slang and just some words and phrases that are a bit more informal and that, yeah, you don't want to use when writing an essay in German, for example. But yeah, I really like this film. Like I said, it's a big part of the reason is because of where it's set. So basically it's about this you know, this girl who's from a rich, wealthy family, and she wants to do a cooking course, but that's not what her parents want for her. She wants to use like the money they've saved for her to do this cooking course, but obviously they don't want to give her the money to do the cooking course, and she meets this guy from Mannheim, and yeah, she's from Heidelberg, which is quite a more expensive area of Germany, and she meets this guy from Mannheim, two areas which are very close to my heart because I was an au pair in a village that was kind of like very close to both Heidelberg and Mannheim, so I spent a bit of time in both cities, so I think that's why I love this film so much. And yeah, she meets this guy, and basically they decide they're gonna, you know, pretend to date to like annoy her parents so that they will hopefully give her the money to go do the cooking course in New York, I believe is where she wanted to do the cooking course. So yeah. And I forgot to mention, obviously the parents don't like the guy from Mannheim who wants to be a boxer, and you know, he's not from a very wealthy family. His mum is like struggling to pay the rent. This next film that I want to talk about is another one which I remember my A-level German teacher showing us as a class. So again, I think it's one that you don't need a very advanced level to watch. And I think I did get this one on DVD for a bit, but it's called Lola Rent, and it's been a while since I've watched this. But I remember it being quite interesting because it basically kind of shows how, you know, how different things that we do can just completely change the course of our life. And I always think that's so like weird how, like, you know, if we didn't do these sometimes one small little things, we wouldn't meet a like specific person that became important in our life, and maybe that specific person then encouraged us to go do something else or introduced us to a different hobby, which then sent us to, I don't know, like study certain things. Like how every little thing we do has an effect later on, and if we did something different we could basically be completely different people living completely different lives. And basically from what I remember, I think they were committing a robbery or something, and then I think Lola's, I want to say boyfriend, gets shot, if I'm remembering, but then she's got this time she keeps going back and doing things again, and it keeps showing how there's a different ending each time. I can't remember how many times it goes back and she does things again, but it just shows how, like, you know, different stories can end differently, because, like, you know, one could end in her boyfriend getting shot, one could end in something else. Yeah, I can't really remember exactly how it ends, so I can't spoil it for you anyway, unless I've already spoiled it by saying I think her boyfriend gets shot and then but then I feel like that's the storyline because she's trying to change that. Yeah, I think so. This next one is one which I watched on Amazon Prime a while ago. I cannot tell you if it's still on there or not because it was quite a few years ago and I actually cancelled my Amazon Prime subscription, but hopefully you could find it somewhere to watch, as I did enjoy it, and I think it's one that you could watch with maybe like an intermediate level. I think I was like level B2 when I watched it, but I feel like you could be like level B1. It's basically about a family who decides to take in a refugee, and it's a comedy, and well, it's the mum that decides to take in the refugee. Mum, like the wife and the husband. Yeah, she's a mum as well. Yeah, the mum, the wife decides to take in the refugee. The dad, he's not too happy about it, but it's a comedy. And it was quite easy to understand. I'm saying like B1 more because of obviously I feel like understanding humour isn't something in a language, isn't something that maybe you grasp from the very beginning when you first start learning that language. I still sometimes struggle with humour in the languages that I studied and I got a 2-1 in my degree, and sometimes I still struggle to get like humour in other languages because it's so different. This next film is another classic, and again it's one that I don't think you need a very advanced level of German to watch because, well, the first time I saw this film was when I was at secondary school, so it would have been like level A1. To be fair though, the teacher did play the film with English subtitles. They always did when we were in secondary school, so it doesn't really, you know, show that I was able to understand that film then because I just read the English subtitles as any teenager would when they're being shown a German film with English subtitles. But then we did watch it again at A-level, and I'm not sure if we had English subtitles then or not. But again, I think it is an easy one. easy-ish one, and it's a classic and you should watch it. And I think it's on the A-level specification actually, so I think some people watch it and write essays about it for their A-level exam, so I don't think it's too difficult. And that's Goodbye Lenin, and basically it's about a family who they are living in East Germany during the German Democratic Republic, and their mum is, you know, a very like loyal, I guess, communist, and yeah, she has a heart attack when she sees her son. I think I remember him being in protests about like the fall of the wall or so, I don't know, but anyway, she has a heart attack, and when she wakes up the wall has fallen, but the doctor basically says you can't tell her that the wall has fallen because it would just risk her life. It could send her into like a worse shock or something, or another heart attack. I can't remember because I watched this years ago, but basically like you cannot tell her that anything has changed. But obviously that's going to be quite hard when everything is different. For example, certain products that she would have got in the supermarket that I'm guessing came from like Russia or whatever, they're not there and they're replaced with like Western ones. So I remember he has to go like get this pickle jar out of the bin and wash it out and buy the normal, I'm saying pickles, that's American, gherkin jar out of the bin, wash it and buy, you know, gherkins from the supermarket that are not that brand, and just pour them into the old jar so she doesn't see that. And you know, it's quite hard because there's big like Coca-Cola adverts everywhere and stuff, but obviously they didn't have Coca-Cola during in East Germany during the time of the GDR. This next film I watched quite recently purely because it had Jonas Ney in it. Maybe you know him from Deutschland 83 und 86 und 89. Yeah, from that series. That's why I watched it, and it's a drama. And I would say it's definitely one that's more for advanced speakers of German. So maybe like B2, C1, that kind of level, just because it's a drama, it's slow. I feel like when lots of nitty-gritty scenes, I don't know, I just feel like when you're starting to learn German, maybe like a drama like that isn't the best, I don't know. But basically it's about these friends that do this like partner swap, and then they go on holiday like after so many weeks of their partner swap all together. I think it's like on holiday, a weekend away I think is what it was, somewhere by the beach. I'm assuming it was in North Germany, it looked like North Germany to me, and yeah, things go terribly wrong, I guess is all I can say without really spoiling it. If you were considering doing a partner swap, it probably will put you off of doing a partner swap. Not something that I've ever considered, to be honest. Definitely won't ever consider it after watching that. But yeah, I guess I kind of enjoyed it. Even though I watched it more for Jonas Ney, I think he's a really good actor. I like him. Yeah. This next film is another comedy, so maybe again it's better suited for someone who's like intermediate, so level B1, but then at the same time I don't feel like it's very difficult to follow, so yeah, I'm sure maybe level A2 could watch it. I don't really know, like I said, I'm not all good before these levels and stuff. But yeah, it's called ist wieder da, and basically it's just a comedy where I don't know why or how this happens, but Hitler just wakes up like in the spot where he died, but like years in the future in like modern day Germany. I can't remember when it was filmed, because it was filmed like a few years ago, but it was like, you know, modern day Germany, and nobody believes he's Hitler because, you know, Hitler died, why would you? And it basically just kind of, I guess, questions what would happen if somebody like Hitler came to power again. Like, would history repeat itself? Because like he doesn't come to power and like take over Germany, but he does kind of like try and gain some power. I don't know, I don't want to say stuff about spoiling the story, but yeah. Not power, not political power, but power elsewhere in a particular industry, I guess, he gains. Yeah. So when it comes to watching films as a beginner, sometimes it's good to watch a children's film, even if you are like, I don't know, a grown adult. Sometimes it can help. Of course, I have mentioned some that you could watch that aren't children's films, but children's films, you know, they're going to be quite easy to follow along. Also, it could be good for, you know, someone watching, someone who is learning German, who is a child who is at school, to watch a children's film, of course. But this next one, I watched it recently because I was looking for more films for this list, and it said it was a horror film, and it kind of looked like it had Stranger Things vibes. So I clicked on it, and it definitely didn't have Stranger Things vibes, and it definitely wasn't scary at all, because it was very like obvious early on that it was just like a horror for kids. Even just the ending made it so clear that it was for kids, because it was, can I say it had a happy ending, because that kind of spoils it, but yeah, it's more like kind of a light-hearted horror, I guess. And it's called, I think the English translation is The Strange House. I want to say it's Das Traurige Haus, which is a word that I don't actually know. Maybe it does mean strange. I'm going to look it up, that word up after this. I think it does mean strange. I don't know what it means. Anyway, it's basically this horror film, about these two boys, these two brothers, and their mum is moving them to Austria. I think she's got a job there or something, but like this, they're from Germany, and they're moving to like this small village in Austria, where there's like caves and mountains and stuff, yeah. And they move there, and they move into this house, and the younger brother starts like getting up and scratching things on the wall in his older brother's room, and mumbling stuff that aren't actually in German, and this kid doesn't speak German. I think it was, I want to say Slovenian, I can't remember, it was one of those languages, one of those like ones from like the kind of Slavic family, yeah, that's what I want to say. Then this other kid tells them that, you know, this mum poisoned her sons who lived in that house beforehand, and the house is haunted and stuff. And they find a girl who can translate what her brother was saying, and then they basically realise that they were saying, you know, mum is not guilty, and then they basically go on trying to find out what actually happened to these boys who did kill them. And yeah, because they can't ask the mum because the mum killed herself afterwards, I forgot to mention. So yeah, I believe the mum killed herself afterwards. That's that film, and it was quite easy to understand. It wasn't scary at all, so if you don't like horrors, don't worry, it's not a proper horror, it's just, yeah, a film about solving, I guess, a murder that is a horror but isn't a horror. This next film that I want to mention is another one that is set during the period of the German Democratic Republic. Can you tell that I'm really interested in that period of like East German history? I actually wrote my dissertation on a play from that period, and why it was bound in the German Democratic Republic. Yeah, clearly very interested in that period. But yeah, this one is Der Ballon, the balloon, and it's basically about a family who try to flee East Germany to West Germany, and their plan to do that is to use a hot air balloon to just fly away in a hot air balloon, because it's not like they can just go to the airport and get on a plane, of course. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that one, because I don't want to spoil anything. You'll have to watch it yourself and see if they make it to West Germany or not. This next film that I want to talk about is actually one which I watched last night, and I would recommend it for more of an advanced learner and someone who just likes, you know, a slow-paced drama. That's who I would recommend it to. I know definitely if I was a beginner I wouldn't want to watch a slow-paced drama, because I feel like the dialogue is so important, like particularly in this film, and I'd want to be able to like understand, you know, all the dialogue. And yeah, I watched this film because I recognised who the actors, so I recognised the guy from Deutschland, not Deutschland, Diagnostic. That's where I watched. That's where I recognised the character Elise from. I recognised the other character from, well, main character from Turkish for Anfänger. That was it, which I've watched a lot to help me learn German. So yeah, I watched it last night, and it's basically, it's something that, you know, it's depressing. I feel like I'm not selling it here, but it is something that, you know, I think it's good they made a film about, because it's, you know, an issue that many people face. And it's basically about a couple who are having fertility problems, and their doctor basically says to them, you know what you need, you need to go on holiday and I guess just not really think about trying to get pregnant for a bit. And so they do, they go on this holiday to Sardinia, and they're staying in this villa, but the villa next door, and there's a family, you know, a couple who have kids staying there, and the garden is just like, you know, open plan, so they can just walk into each other's gardens. And the little girl Denise does that a lot. She just walks into the garden and goes and talks to Elise and asks if she could eat her food or play with her or like something. And with that couple being there, it actually makes it harder for them. They've come to get away from what's going on, but it is harder. And I guess it just gives you an insight to what people are feeling and stuff, because there's like one point where they're like, oh, they say, I don't want to say everything and ruin it, but they say something like, oh, so you don't have kids then? Or I think they made the assumption as well, one of the characters the guy made an assumption that they didn't want to have kids, they chose not to have kids, but they didn't choose not to have kids, they were having fertility problems. And I guess when you're struggling to have a kid and someone says something like that to you, it doesn't make you feel any better at all. You don't need people saying things like that to you. But I wouldn't know, because obviously I've never experienced that. But I can imagine it's not a very nice thing to go through at all. So yeah. So those are all the films that I wanted to mention today in this video. Like I said earlier, I have not watched every single German language film that there is out there. So please do comment down in the comment section if you know a film that you just think that everyone learning German should watch. And yeah, if you like this video, definitely make sure to give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. Follow me on Instagram and all of that lovely stuff, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! I just need to tell you.